In an age of rockets and jets, this tiny plane and a few others like it are just about all that remain one of the world's most exciting sports, air racing. Before it too becomes a thing of the past, join the handful of men who still race around the pylons with planes so small they would fit in the average-sized living room. Why do these few pilots still leapfrog the continent, flying hundreds of miles to challenge the same opponents time after time? We don't really know the answer. Perhaps they are the last of a breed of individualists, proud of the image they portray. For it was the barnstormers of the 20s and the air racers of the 30s who, with their home-built airplanes, kept alive our interest in aviation. Several of these men actually started racing during that era. They are all professional pilots, flying instructors, and airline captains, like John Thompson, who flies with us this morning to Fort Wayne, Indiana. John's plane and all of the others are original designs. Many of them were made by the men who fly them. More than 10,000 hours of work went into building number 92. And with this plane, Bill Falk of Warwick, New York, has won 3 national championships. Approaching our destination, we slow to 110 miles per hour and enter the landing pattern. The wheels touch the runway at 95 miles an hour, and here we are at Bear Field. Among the veteran pilots arriving here today is Steve Whitman of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Steve is the grand old man of air racing. He began rounding the pylons back in 1928. Flying instructor Paul Booth has flown here this afternoon from Nashville, Tennessee. And here's another former champion, Jim Miller of San Antonio, Texas. Flying airliners between Stockholm and the New York International Airport, Sweden's Jan Christie is no stranger to distant flights. He joins us now, having flown this silver racer here from New York. Racing always demands seemingly endless preparations. Engines must be retuned and rechecked, and everything possible is done to save weight. Instruments unessential for low-level flying are removed, and not more than 3 gallons of gas are carried during the race. 30 miles of full-throttle racing consumes less than 2 gallons of fuel. Weighing 443 pounds, this aircraft is the latest design, representing 3 years of work by airline captain Tom Cassutt. The sound of engines fades into silence. Tomorrow, their roar will again echo across the skies of Indiana. The first air race was held back in 1909. The winning speed was 46 miles per hour. By 1939, the speeds were approaching 400. The Second World War put a halt to air racing, but by then the air racers had given their country a new weapon, the high-performance airplane, and from it came the military fighters. Air racing returned in 1946, but somehow it was not the same. The original handmade creations of a few men were gone. The planes that competed then were production line aircraft, modified surplus Mustangs, Corsairs, and Lightnings. The tremendous power of their engines soon proved to be too much for closed-course air racing, and for a while it seemed that the sport was finished. Then this new class of midget planes came into being. Once again, they were usually the product of the combined skills of one individual. Under rules set up by the National Aeronautic Association, The size of the engine was limited to 85 horsepower. The wings could no longer be cut down below a peril point and were required to have a minimum area of 66 square feet. There had to be strength enough in 500 pounds of airplane to withstand stresses imposed by not less than 6 times the normal gravitational forces, or what the engineers call 6 Gs. Although they may look fragile, they're all designed for at least 10 Gs, and some for as much as 15 or 20. This is roughly equal to twice the design strength of a jet fighter. Pilots of the First World War invented many of these aerobatic maneuvers. Then the barnstormers used them to attract the attention of the crowd, and so they became a traditional part of all air shows. Some 30-odd years separate the aerobatics of the biplane with the nearly supersonic precision flying of the Navy's famous Blue Angels. Races will be flown by planes selected on the basis of their qualifying runs during the time trials. Pilots and planes competing for the first time must satisfy the race officials that they have complied with the minimum safety requirements. Time is rapidly running out. The timers are waiting, and the trials begin. Steve Whitman is the first to make the qualifying run. He turns one lap in 44 3/10 seconds. That's 203 miles per hour. Steve is followed by Dick Ohm in number 16. Next, Mel Stickney in number 9. Dick Ohm's time is 44 8/10, or 200 miles per. Next, Bill Falk. And now it's our turn. One lap on this oval course is 2.5 miles long. The straights are 7/8 of a mile, the turns 3/8. If you were in the pilot's seat, you would be memorizing the location of every large object on the ground below. The pylons, the big trees, the farmer's barn, and the house off in the distant clearing. You would know that your fellow pilots, as well as the timers, are watching you, studying your style and form of flying. This is what it's like. The slower qualifiers are assembled for the first race. The first two planes across the finish line will get a chance at the championship award in the main event. The nature of this sport is such that victory does not always favor the fastest plane. The skill of the pilot and the element of luck must also be considered. These thoughts are essential to these men as they start their engines. In about 7 seconds, they will accelerate to a speed of 75 miles per hour and break contact with the runway. Climbing into the first turn, the speed will increase to 190 miles an hour. 210 and up to 230 down the straightaways. Flying directly into the prop wash of another plane must be avoided. In such turbulent air, the plane can actually be twisted out of control, and sometimes the results are fatal. Still, the object is to fly as tight a course as possible. For every 20 feet away from the pylons means a loss in speed of 1 mile an hour. Races have been lost by as little as 1/10 of a mile per hour in this, the fastest sporting event in the world. Following the first race, the planes return to the pit area. Here we find the Blue Angels and Sweden's Jan Christie wishing each other well, for the fraternity of the airman's world seemingly transcends national boundaries. And now the main event. The late General of the Air Corps, Hap Arnold, called an air race the great test of man and machine, a proving ground in the sky. Today's high-power engines, efficient streamlining, supercharging, retractable landing gear, and the controllable pitch propeller are but a few of the many advances in the science of flight which were proven in air racing. Air racing has been to the airplane what the Indianapolis 500 was to the development of the automobile. Somebody once said, "You don't sit in these airplanes, you wear them." Once you've climbed into your aluminum Bastille, you're on your own. You sit here and sweat, waiting for the starter to do his job. You're all watching one man now, Mike Murphy and his starting flag. Mike watches the sky to see that the course is clear. And there's the flag. 3,900 RPM, your engine is turning more than 1,000 revolutions over what the manufacturer said was the safe limit. You constantly watch the temperature and oil pressure instruments. You watch the ground below for shadows of the others, remembering those who fly a high pattern and those who fly low. You'll find yourself piloting every other plane in addition to your own. At one point during each lap, you'll glance at the starter on the ground below. If necessary, he will warn you of danger with a red flag, for radios are not carried aloft. Nothing can be heard above the deafening roar of the engine. You must start each turn about 1/8 of a mile before you reach it. The centrifugal force in the turns will increase the weight of your body to 600 or 700 pounds. You must not cut a pylon, for doing so means flying an extra lap. That's the rule. And like any other pilot, you may think about whether or not your wings will stay on, or if you'll throw a propeller blade and tear out your engine. This afternoon, fortunately, none of these things happened to you. And there's the checkered flag for the winner. You pull up into a victory roll and salute him. 39-year-old Jim Miller of San Antonio has won it again. Having seen something of air racing, we may find it a little easier to understand the attraction it holds for those who fly around the pylons. Remember, too, as you enjoy the comfort of a modern airliner, cruising at more than twice the speed of these tiny planes, that they were pilots like these who did the pioneering and made possible our air age that now extends to the realm of outer space.